Shalom. Today I want to share about the recent distribution of anti-Semitic flyers all over the US. So that's the topic of today's episode. But first, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and giving us a thumbs up. It really helps us. Thank you. So the title of today's episode is Joseph Goebbels Would Be So Proud. I like to remember Joseph Goebbels as the short-lived Chancellor of Germany in 1945. A very little known fact. He inherited the title of Chancellor of Germany the day Hitler committed suicide on April 30th, 1945. He held that title for one day until he poisoned his 6 children and committed suicide with his wife on May 1st, 1945. So he was indeed Chancellor for a day. But the real damage that Goebbels inflicted on European Jews was in the years leading up to that day. Joseph Goebbels was Hitler's Reich Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda from 1933 to 1945. In that period of time, he did a lot of damage. He had belonged to the Nazi Party since 1924. As Minister of Propaganda, Goebbels was responsible for the brainwashing of German citizens through the dissemination of anti-Semitic literature, painting the Jewish people as subhuman and vermin needing destruction. His role for the Third Reich was to convince the German people that the Jews had to be eradicated. He was rather successful. He was also an accomplished orator who practiced his speeches ahead of time in front of a mirror with precision and attention to body language. He wanted to convey authority. Not long after the 1933 official appointment, he actually organized a Nazi book burning. Books considered subversive or promoting any ideology contrary to Nazism were destroyed. In a sense, it was cancel culture before cancel culture was even known. When German diplomat Ernst von Rath was assassinated in Paris in November 1938, Goebbels orchestrated the production and distribution of anti-Semitic materials to be released by the press. The German people had been indoctrinated against the Jews for a few years already. So it was already in their heads. Goebbels gave an inflammatory speech on November 8, 1938 at a meeting of the Nazi Party and incited the people, something he was very good at. It didn't take long for the situation to grow into a full-blown pogrom and boycott of Jewish businesses. It became known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, and it is recognized by historians as the starting date for the Holocaust. According to the dictionary, propaganda is, and I quote, the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. The German people would have not bought the Nazi agenda if it was not for Goebbels' well-oiled propaganda machine. That's for sure. Now, Goebbels knew that in order to indoctrinate a large number of people into believing in the validity of a cause, he had to work tirelessly at spreading lies and rumors. He did that through his speeches and rallies, book burnings, and literature distribution, and also through the movies and the radio. He also helped to write the the famous Reichstag speech of 1939 when Hitler announced that if a war would take place, all Jews would be annihilated. Eventually, the propaganda ministry took over the radio industry and the film industry, leaving the German people very little chance of hearing or viewing anything other than Nazi propaganda. Quite successful. Goebbels did not come in one day and decide to take over communication and change it all to anti-Semitic propaganda. He moved very slowly and strategically, and so are the anti-Semites of today. Now, in the last few weeks, there's been a seemingly well-orchestrated distribution of anti-Semitic flyers in the United States, in North Carolina, Florida, Colorado, California, and Texas. Some of these awful flyers were just found in a neighborhood, in the neighborhood of Colleyville, Texas, where, if you remember, a synagogue was attacked and a rabbi and congregants were taken hostage about a month prior to this, in the mid-January of 2022. What are we to make of these flyers? Some people are trying to brush off the incidents as stupidity, while others are simply picking up the flyers and throwing them away, not giving them any attention. Now, in some cases, this would be the appropriate response. But considering the increased hatred for Jewish people recently demonstrated all over the world, these flyers cannot be ignored. I think they're definitely a symptom of something much more sinister. I believe that they are part of a greater propaganda campaign to demonize the Jews even further. Even if many people shared their outrage at the flyers, many more will accept their lies as truth and further denigrate the Jewish people and further demonize the Jewish people. See, propaganda usually holds just enough, albeit twisted and altered, just enough truth to be believable. Now, about the current flyers, several things need to be brought up. They either list all the people involved in handling COVID as being Jews, or they show a list of Biden's administration staff who are Jewish, which in both cases can be true, and so what? The goal is to make people believe that the Jews control everything for their own benefit. This takes us back to the 1904 hoax written by a Russian man by the name of Sergei Nilus, called The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, claiming to be the minutes of a Jewish cabal meeting organized to take over the whole world. Also on the flyer is a quote from Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. And I quote, "I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slender of those who say that they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan." It seems to indicate that the Jews are from the synagogue of Satan, in other words, demon-possessed. It certainly does not help when early theologians like John Chrysostom used those words with authority to denigrate the Jews. But contextually, the synagogue of Satan is most likely describing Gentiles, not Jews, acting like Jews and corrupting Jewish customs. When kept in a proper context, these accusations cannot be anti-Semitic, as they were not directed towards Jews. It does give a very negative reputation to Christians, who don't need that reputation to be even worse, as well as giving fuel to the Jewish community for claiming that the New Testament is anti-Semitic. The quote from Revelation 2:9 gives the creators of the flyer some false cred, painting them as Christians while they are most certainly not. Probably the most ironic statement made on the flyer is this, and I quote, "These flyers were distributed randomly without malicious intent," close quote. Seriously? The flyer claims that the Jews control everything and that they are from the synagogue of Satan, not to mention the link to the virulently anti-Semitic site Goyim TV, and they said there's no malice. What about the fact that they were all distributed in states and neighborhoods that have large Jewish demographics? The flyers are a sign of the times. They tell us that it continues to be very dangerous for Jewish people around the world. They are part of the propaganda to turn the world against the Jews. Now, we do know that the whole world will eventually turn against the Jews, from the Bible from the prophet Zechariah 12:3, and I quote, "On that day I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. All who lift it will surely hurt themselves, and all the nations of the earth will gather against it." This is not an invitation to do nothing. On the contrary, my friends, it is a call to action. The bullies against Israel and the Jews will always exist and will even increase in numbers, but they must be fought, exposed, and punished by law. We also know that at the end of the story, Satan, who hates the Jews and hates God, is defeated, and Yeshua prevails. Israel will never be forsaken by God, no matter how hard bullies and anti-Semites come after her. Look at Jeremiah 31, 35, and 37. See, we will not be able to completely eradicate anti-Semitism until Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace, is back on earth and we enter the millennial kingdom in his presence. Until then, we cannot end it, but we certainly can fight it and show the Jewish people who their friends, who their true friends are. The flyers are to be taken very seriously. They are proof that the Jewish people continue to be the victims of propaganda. Propaganda is very pernicious. It patiently infiltrates all levels of society to brainwash people into believing lies as the truth. It worked for Hitler and Goebbels. And if we remain silent, it will work for the new anti-Semites of the 21st century. So what's next? The burning of Jewish books again? Goebbels would be very proud. Thank you, and shalom.